I texted Michael. We'll see if he logs in.
We'll give him 1 or 2 more minutes and then we'll just start. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Well, we're almost at the solstice.
Yeah,
Hi, Beth.
Hi.
it's nice.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
No problem. I am going to give you the warning of my husband's downstairs with the kids, so I might, if I disappear, there's an emergency because he can't walk. So it's a double whammy, COVID and a broken foot. So
Oh, no.
All right, well, we might as well start. We're only missing Michael at this point. So welcome all to the December 14th planning board meeting. Joe is excused tonight. There wasn't really enough on here for him to participate. First thing is to review the meeting minutes from November 9th. We paid some bills as always. Had 2 extension resolutions for Haberl and Base, and read the Bloom engineering report. So it was a fairly low-key meeting in that regard. I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of November 9th. Do I have a second? Or
Second.
sorry, does anyone have any issues or see anything that I didn't see?
No.
No.
Okay, I have a second from Reed. All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Great. We have 2 bills. The first for the Rayner Group, basically for reviewing Bloom. It's and attending a meeting. Totals $300, and I think that's well worth it as always. So I make a motion to accept the Rayner Group's November invoice in the amount of $300. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Hi.
All right.
Michael's in a meeting today.
Christina, I'm going to ask you to sign up for me, would you please?
Will do. Thank you.
The second invoice we have is for the New York Planning Federation. This is our yearly membership and it totals $295. I think it's very helpful for us for all the continuing education and keeping up to date with the state, what the state does through their newsletters. And so I think, again, this is a valuable entity. One curious thing I noticed that we can add up to 15, municipalities can add up to 15 members. And we're obviously a board of 5. So I think when we sign up for this, we should ask the ZBA and the town board if anyone else wants to be added to the list so they get the newsletters, kind of a courtesy. So I make a motion to accept the New York Planning Federation 2022 dues, the amount of $295. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And Christina, please sign that one too. And
Will do.
also, before we send that check in, let's ask around who wants to be get the newsletter first.
I mean, for 15 members, that is got exactly 15 members. I think that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, so whether you 1 member or 15, it's $295. So might as well open it up to as many people as possible.
Yeah, and it's all it noted that it will be all emailed. It's not going to be printed until you
It's not
guys
the
pick
print,
it
it's
up.
just the email at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Really think that-
Okay. The last thing is for us, our business meeting is the 2022 schedule. We have to vote on it now, so it can be published before our next meeting. It's the first Tuesday in every month except for November, which is the first Tuesday, or excuse me, the second Tuesday. The second Tuesday in November is election day, so we bumped it out another week. Does anyone else see anything with it, or should we just move it?
Looks good.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept the 2022 planning board calendar. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 That closes the business meeting. On to the work session. We have the Fine Art minor subdivision. We're just waiting for the deeds to be recorded. We have the Bloom minor subdivision. We referred them to the fire commissioners and the Suffolk County Planning Commission. We were hoping to get the sketch plan resolution together, but we just didn't. And we'll do that definitely next month. It does not delay them at all. They already have they've already started with the health department because we did secret before. And so there's no issues with this. Kasich minor subdivision. We did get some questions from Tom Carr. He's clearly working on the different aspects he has to do for the final application, and we have till April 13th on that one. Basically lot line adjustment, we're still waiting on proof of recordings. The Haverhill lot line adjustment, we are all done with them. We received the final plat recording, so we can take that off our list. And the Robert subdivision, we're still waiting for Matt on the proof of the right-of-way accessibility. So that leaves us the White major subdivision, which Beth, you've reviewed the various documents put together by Karen and Gail. You did point out to us that they were making some changes. Do you want to, or proposing changes? Do you want to quickly go through those 4 items?
Sure. So based on the latest draft and reviewing of this would be what they're calling the first amendment to the Declaration of Covenants and Restrictions. There was a couple changes that don't comply with our with the board's modification approval that they adopted on October 12th, 2021. So the applicants are asking if the board would consider these changes, which would be, in turn be a change to their modification approval. However, I think if we just discuss it tonight, I think we can get something in the minutes, should the board agree, that would cover that. So the changes that are being proposed, the first, I'll go through all 4 of them, and then if the board wants to discuss them individually or however you want to go through it. The first one is to allow for the planning board to extend the 6 months to complete the first section of the road. So if the board remembers that the planning board's approval required that the road, that first portion of the road that goes from Menantic to what will be the parking area, it's reserve area B, but it will ultimately be the parking area for after these preservation lots are acquired. There's a section of the road that would the board was requiring be improved first in order to accommodate to that parking area and to accommodate emergency services and things like that. So they are asking for some additional time. The board, the way the resolution read, it was from the date of the resolution, which is October 12th, 2021. We're now December 14th, 2021. So 2 months have already gone by. They were asking, so the original approval said within 6 months. The applicants were asking for additional time at the request, at the request of the planning board, so that they could ask for the planning board to grant them additional time. I can, hang on one second and I will, let's see. Their exact language says improvements subject to performance bond 1, which is that section of the road, shall be completed within 6 months of the effective date of the planning board resolution or a later date approved by the planning board for good cause shown. So that's what they're proposing to amend it to. So that's the first change that the applicant is requesting. Do you want me to go to the next one, or do you want to discuss
Well,
this
I think
first?
let's discuss this one.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, when I forwarded you Beth's list, I gave my personal opinion that I think it's totally acceptable to give them one additional 6-month period. What do the rest of you think of that?
I'm fine with
I'm
it.
okay
I'm
with that.
fine with that.
Yeah.
It is winter and
It's winter, and for some reason, in my mind, I thought 6 months from the closing of the transactions, when everything was recorded. I didn't actually realize it was from the adoption of the resolution. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense to give them that little extra time.
Yeah.
so they're asking not for an additional 6 months in and of itself. They're asking for an amount that they could, so that if they can't complete it within 5 months, that they could come back and say, we need 7, 8 more months to complete this. But the board is saying that you just want to give them an additional 6 months on top of the 6 months they already have.
That would take them till early
So basically
October
October
next year.
12th of next year.
So they have all spring, all summer,
Right.
half of fall to do it. I'm comfortable with that. What do you guys think?
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, it's winter time and things are going slow. So,
It gives
Okay,
it a
so
hunger.
it's one additional 6-month period.
Okay. Okay, so the next one I have is, this is to allow the revised SWIP and NOI to be submitted after closing, but within a 6-month period, so all lots can close prior to that actually being submitted. As you know, the SWIP and the NOI are subject to review by the DEC is involved in that aspect of this application. So I guess the thought was this would allow them that additional time to allow for closing, but still not be held up by the DEC, which it would afford them the additional time, and they requested 6 months. So.
And you guys saw my comments. I know that the fastest I heard someone get through the DEC with a SWIP was the Pridwin. Matt Sherman got him through in 27 days or 28 days, which is a miracle. I'm used to DEC taking 3 months for things. So I'm happy with the 6-month extension. What I'd personally like to see, though, is that the bond be put in place. So if they don't get it done in that additional 6 months, the town has something that they can deal with. Some kind of help. What about anyone else?
Did Beth have something?
Oh, I was
I-
gonna go to the next one. If the other board members had any other comments regarding the SWIP and NOI.
No, I don't have
Are
a
you-
problem with extending this, but
Okay.
yeah, no problem.
The next one I had, there was a section in the board's decision that required a resolution of the homeowners association stating that the remaining lots will be responsible for putting the road in. Personally, I feel that issue is addressed by not only the CNRs, but also everybody signing the HOA. So I think it's clear to everybody that they would be responsible if they're not, since they're signing these documents. But that was a decision that was in the board's modification approval. So to remove that, the board would have to agree to take that out of the CNRs.
So, I mean,
So if-
I see it both ways. As I think I mentioned before, I don't quite understand technically why it needs to be removed. It's just one more document that needs to be executed as the signature packet goes around. But I will follow the planning board's lead on this one.
I'm not sure I understand exactly.
Yeah, either do I.
So let me
What-
read you the language that was in there. So the board's decision says, let me just find it here. Hang on.
Five.
5, okay, thanks. Oh, here it is. So the board, that whole paragraph says, should fee ownership of any of the lots 1 through 9 within the Nelson C. White Estate subdivision be conveyed to a municipal agency for open space preservation purposes, said conveyed lot may be released from any membership requirements in the above referenced homeowners association and from any liability in the event the homeowners association fails to fulfill its obligations. The homeowners association shall submit a resolution signed by lot owners 1 through 9 and notarized authorizing the release of any of the lots conveyed for preservation purposes to an authorized agency. Said resolution shall include language that acknowledges that the remaining lot owners, which are part of the homeowners association, shall be responsible for all of its obligations as required herein. So basically, it would be removing the requirement for the resolution, which would include that acknowledgement.
And technically, what is the reason for this?
That would have to be answered by the homeowners association, but the homeowners association, I think they're, and I can be corrected, Karen, or whomever wants to correct me. I think the thought was that by signing all of these other documents, that whole question as to who would be responsible after this is already figured out by the covenants and restrictions, by who's left in the homeowners association. So to add another layer of resolution onto that almost seems duplicative.
Right, that's correct. I don't know if my audio is on or not. But yes, that is correct. That was the reasoning for it. I mean, it'll be contained in the amended HOA agreements. We've been working pretty diligently and trying to get these access easements, the access and parking, the amended town declaration, and the amended HOA terms ironed out between Beth and Gail and the county and myself. So this was just seemed like another layer of documents. All the other documents all require several signatures from people all around the country. And since the information would be contained within the amended HOA, that was the reason why we requested that be not another set of recorded documents.
Okay. Planning board members, any thoughts on this one?
Well, if we're sure that it's actually redundant, and if we're sure that that there's no chance that we won't be able to enforce this, then I don't see a problem with it. I defer to Beth, I guess, to just verify that it is really redundant and that there are, there's some,
It's already caught.
yeah, that it's going to be, that it would be caught by something else. Removing a
My
layer.
question is the HOA, and I'm sorry, I don't have that one in front of me, but the HOA document, is that signed by all of the members, or is that only going to be signed by, it's all the members? Because my concern would be, what's the authority for allowing the change to the HOA? There should be someone, if it was just the president signing it, you would want to see the authorization, like a resolution saying the president is hereby authorized to sign this new First Amendment document. But I think if all the members are signing it, that would cover that issue.
Right. as drafted, it's all lot members, including the HOA, to sign off on the amended HOA agreement.
Right.
May I jump in here? I think we are the representatives of the HOA, and I don't know what document you're talking about that the HOA is going to sign that's going to be an acknowledgement that all the lot owners remaining in the subdivision after the sale of the preservation lots are going to be responsible for all of these improvements. So Karen, is that your amended and restated declaration that we've told you repeatedly we don't think is appropriate? Or is it some other document that we've proposed to you that you haven't approved?
No, it's the amended HOA declaration, which we've been working on with the planning board attorney as well as with the town and the county.
Okay, well, I want the planning board to clearly understand that we have told Karen and the lawyers for the county and the town that the HOA is not going to sign a fully amended and restated set of covenant restrictions. And so if what you're being told is that what's redundant is that this affirmation of the responsibility of the remaining lot owners is in that amended and restated HOA declaration, I don't think that's consistent with where we are in the process, because the HOA and the 9 lot owners, as of right now, have objected to signing such a document. So I just want to be clear about that.
Okay,
It sounds,
just to be clear that the document that we're referring to was last commented on you on December 8th.
Right, and I told you we weren't going to sign it.
why don't we cut to the chase here, and maybe we should just leave this in so that we're covered, and then we don't have to get involved with this particular negotiation between the members of the.
We don't really have a say over HOA. but-
In other words, why not just leave it as it is, and then we have a redundancy that perhaps protects us from something.
That's where I was kind of leaning to, and that's what I'd be comfortable with that.
Okay.
Okay. So in regards to item 4, the bonds, requesting an additional 6-month period. Without having that in place, we have no teeth to enforce anything. And so I'm opposed to accepting the 6-month additional period. We reached out to Bob DiStefano. He was going to see, definitely this could be the bond. The town could vote to accept the bonds on their January 4th meeting, which was just set. Or maybe we could discuss with Bob DiStefano and Jerry Siller if a special meeting could be set up during a work session where they close the work session, open up a special meeting for the purpose of accepting this bond. If that's the correct procedure, I don't know. But that's what I think.
January 4th is the Tuesday.
We can
so-
get the town to accept the bonds fairly quickly.
Do
Yeah,
we
there's
know-
gonna,
Is there an update from, did anyone hear back from Bob today at all regarding the bonds?
I didn't, the same email that I was copied on.
Okay,
yeah, and Ian, when you asked before about the meeting, I mentioned January 4th, but there is, and the annual meeting is on December 28th, so that we can do business on that day,
All right, so we
if
could.
that
we could-
helps you at all,
That helps, yeah. That just
whatever
helps
that
everything.
Tuesday is.
So if I may just clarify on, if the bond is submitted to the town, it can be reviewed by the town board on December 28th, but that would be the earliest date. Is that correct?
It has been submitted already. It was submitted by
Okay.
Karen today, and Bob
Is it
DiStefano
21st?
is in possession of it. And was going to talk to Jerry about holding when he could schedule it.
We
Thank
could
you.
look at it. The board, I think, can look at it on the 21st, but maybe vote the 28th. Is that what you're saying? unless they need a special meeting. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't hear that.
I
We didn't hear
wasn't
the date
speaking.
or someone online.
I think there was someone online speaking perhaps.
Not me.
Okay. And I think those were the 4 points that were that you had concerns with. I don't think there's anything else that you were, Beth, that you had struggled
Those
with.
were the 4 points that I understood we needed clarification on with regard to the CNRs, the proposed amending CNRs.
Okay.
Can we jump in? Because I think we've expressed to both Ian and Beth and members of the planning board that we think there should be a 5th item on your list. And that has to do with the linking of the conditions that need to be satisfied for the closings on lot 8 and 9 to the conditions that need to be satisfied for the closings on lot 4, 5, and 6. So I think you all know what we've asked for. My wife, Carla, has a few things she'd like to share with you on that subject. So you're up.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. And thank you very much for granting the extension on some of the items that Karen Hoag asked for. That's great. And we appreciate your open-mindedness on those issues. We really do. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this language, which is in your resolution that's prior to the conveyance of any lot. And we would just respectfully ask that you consider changing that to prior to the conveyance of lots 4, 5, and 6, because the way the language reads right now, it seems like it's linking us to the other transaction. And I think you have the protection you need from what I understand. And I just wanted to tell you some of the reasons I think that these two deals should be, quote, be linked. And the first is, and I think this one is the most important, is that our contract is the one that we signed. We signed it after you signed your contract for lots 4, 5, and 6. And our contract very specifically links the sale of lot 8 to the sale of lot 9 and vice versa. So when Penelope Moore came to us with a buyer for lot 9, we had to say, no, we can't do that, Penelope, because we have a contract to sell both of our lots. We can't sell just one. So it seems to me if you all really wanted to link these two transactions, you would have said that at the time when you signed off on the contract to purchase lots 8 and 9.
Hang on a second. The
Yeah.
planning board was not involved in that negotiation.
Okay,
Has
but
nothing
the
to do
town,
with the planning board.
okay, but the town said that, and now this is the planning board insisting or suggesting that we be linked. So you may not have been involved in the original contract, but now you're the ones weighing in on linking these two. So the second reason is that just as we've just had a discussion here about the contracts to purchase, for you all to purchase lots 4, 5, and 6, their deal is a lot more complicated than ours is. And while we've worked out, lots of the issues related to that, and we don't have any disagreements of substance that I know of, the simple fact is we've got 5 lawyers involved in this, and these documents go back and forth. And then there's a pause, there's an illness, there's a holiday, people get busy with other transactions, and all this time passes by. And I know that I've overheard Bill say, oh my God, which version of the document am I supposed to be looking at? I've overheard him responding to Gail saying the same thing. I've got so many versions of these documents. Everybody needs to weigh in on these, and the HOA and sellers and you guys and the town and the county, it takes a long time. But all of these documents only pertain to the sale of lots 4, 5, and 6, not to the sale of lots 8 and 9. And now with this bond issue that's just come up, it sounds like we're automatically pushed all the way to the end of December. So we can continue to work out our specifics with Karen Hoag and regarding the easements. And I know Bill's talked to Gail. She's been very available. We talked to Karen. But it would be really fantastic if their documents are finalized this week. And I know every week we have this goal. Okay, this week we're going to finalize the documents, but it tends not to happen. And now we're coming up on the holidays, and it's really putting, I think, an undue hardship on lots 8 and 9 when we're all ready to go. Our contract expires tomorrow, and we have gone to these Herculean efforts to deliver everything to you guys, signed, sealed, and delivered on December 3rd. We drove like crazy people from DC. We went to Hauppauge, we went to Mattituck, we went to Shelter Island, we came back, all in one day, because we wanted to be before Maria Kelly and Michael Brown. And my brother lives in Boston, he delivered to Gail's office. I mean, all this, we've gone out of our way, all with the expectation, as stated over and over again by the county, that we were going to be de-linked. So our contract.
I think if I'm going to intercede here, we've been discussing from the first day you guys are in front of us that we as a planning board feel, and I still feel this way, and I think the other members still feel this way, that they are linked. The original subdivision was done all together. It was done through acreage averaging to get the yield that you wanted. And that was, again, all because all lots were involved. And so we didn't want to go through one process with you and then one process with George White's team. And I think this is what we've said from day one. And so I don't think we've misled you in any manner or way in this review.
I don't think that acreage averaging argument works out, though, because our transaction closed, our contracts were signed, 6 months after George's. We didn't even have an offer on the table. How could it be considered part of an average? So we may have had one average between 8 and 9.
How the subdivision was planned. It was about how the subdivision was planned, and you got the lots you wanted. And that's a technique that the planning board is more than willing to use to help applicants out. And this is a technique that we used in the way long time ago. So.
Okay, so then just moving on through my list of reasons, our contract required that the closings on lots 8 and 9 be completed by October 31st of 2021. And by October 31st, we had our approval from all the related bodies, and we were prepared to sign all of your applicable closing documents. And the county and the town requested an extension until tomorrow. And if our deal dies tomorrow, if we are linked, does that mean the deal dies for lot 4, 5, and 6? Do you want to lose both deals? Because I think that this is a significant opportunity for the town of Shelter Island and the county to have a great piece of property. It has historic significance, and our family has been very, very generous in conveying to you easements and accepting some disruption to this, bucolic state so that the public feels welcome. I think we've really bent over backwards. We've worked closely together. We've had great communications within the family to try to accommodate what you've asked for. So why would you jeopardize this? I just don't understand that. And my last thing is, it's a question. And that is, what is it in the linking process that benefits you? It doesn't cost you anything if you let us close. And it also it could be considered a benefit to you because you at least get us out of the way. So you've got 8 and 9, we're done. And then we can all turn our attention to effectively getting the other lots, closed. And so we don't have to take up any more of your time. So that's my request of you, Ian McDonald, and the planning board to consider what is in your best interest to continue to keep us linked. Because I don't see that it is a benefit financially or practically, and it certainly causes, a lot of duress and stress when we could be all putting ourselves behind, helping the George Whites get their contracts in order and everybody goes home happy as soon as possible.
I've been of the talking to various people. I've been of the impression that that deadline is not written in stone. that there's some flexibility to it. I know the George White deadline has flexibility into it. I've been led to believe that the county hasn't executed your documents yet. And it still seems to me, and I'd love to hear from the other planning board members, that there are still problems between the two families, side of the families, with the documents that we are requesting to be signed. And so if not everyone is in unison, how can we get the documents that we are requesting executed when one party's gone already? So again, I'd like to hear from the other planning board members, please.
My understanding is that we've been advised by council to keep them linked in the past. It's obvious from the meeting we've had here today that there is a certain contentiousness between the family members. And I don't necessarily feel qualified, because I don't understand the legal aspect of this, to judge whether there could be some unintended consequences. It just seems to me like perhaps we're retaining some sort of control over the deal if we keep them linked. I would defer to Beth on this, but it just seems to me that since we've been saying all along that they were to remain linked, and we've denied this request in the past, I don't see why we would agree to unlink them. Does anybody else have an opinion about that, or?
I got a very similar opinion. It's not what, I decide, it's what, the lawyers are guiding us this way.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't feel, I wouldn't feel confident not taking the advice of counsel on a legal issue that I don't feel like I fully understand the potential ramifications of. Especially given the contentiousness that we just saw here today over signing of legal documents.
Hold on.
Is Beth still on?
Yeah. I was thinking-
Okay. I was not here when this original discussion had taken place. I believe that was still Kevin. But I think just from tonight, in my opinion, it seems more reason to link them, because if we have issues with the homeowners association not wanting to sign off on documents, and the subdivision was approved as one full subdivision, the declarations apply to all of the lots within the subdivision, it makes just proper planning sense to keep all of the lots and the paperwork and everything within the same. We're changing the declarations of covenants and restrictions that apply to all the lots through one change, versus releasing this here, it just doesn't, to me personally, comprehensively doesn't make sense to do it that way. It makes more sense. You have one subdivision, you're changing the subdivision, you had the approval done, now you're changing the subdivision, the covenants, the other documents that were part of that subdivision. Obviously, since the subdivision has been done, those lots have been transferred out, but I think it's still looked at for the planning perspective as one. It's a subdivision. It's not the individual lots. So you're changing the requirements of the subdivision, and
Exactly.
lots 1 through 9 are part of this subdivision. So I think
Exactly.
that was there may be more reasons that were decided when I wasn't here. I can find out that, but from my own perspective, that seems to me, the biggest reason is that this is a subdivision. So this is why you're changing the CNRs for the subdivision, not the individual lots.
Exactly.
And I
That
think
was
as
my
far,
understanding.
as far as the planning board does, we've been listening to you. We've been doing whatever we can to move fast on this by preparing the resolution even before we were really ready. We're talking to the town about how these bonds can be accepted at an earlier date. We're really trying to we're permitting extensions on the SWIP and the NOI. We're permitting an extension on the installation of the road. We're doing whatever, makes sense to really help you get through this.
And I appreciate that, but it does seem that the decision you just made on the bond, and Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, it pushes us all the way to the end of December.
Well, that's actually, I was just going to ask, I got booted off of Zoom while you were talking about the bond. I know that they've been submitted to the town attorney. I know that the planning board has seen them. I know Joe Lombardi has seen them. So in terms of timing on the town board review, is it something where they need to convene a special meeting in order to accept and approve those? Or would it have to be at a next public meeting, which I think you previously said was in January?
The 21st is the next town board meeting, right?
At the
Work
next
session.
Work
The next work
session, which could be discussed. And then the 28th is the next meeting. It's the end of the year meeting, and Amber sensed that you could just add more real business to it.
Okay, so it's the 21st is a work session where it could be discussed, and the 28th is where it could be adopted.
Correct. That's how I
Correct.
understand it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that, I mean, so just to recap for a second, so in terms of the various agreements that have to get signed pursuant to the resolution and the performance bond, providing that all of that is taken care of, approved and resolved, it would seem to me then those lots can close after those items are met, because the extension on the SWIP has now been extended and not linked to a precondition to the conveyances. Is that correct? Okay.
And again, getting the bonds accepted by the town gives us some assurance that the SWIP will be completed.
Right. Right. And actually, that's one thing that I was curious about, because the SWIP, the way that the town code reads is that the SWIP would be inapplicable to any property that's less than an acre. And the access way from South Monantic to the parking area is, I think it's about 28,000 square feet. So I didn't even know if for this first piece of this, if that is actually applicable. And I wanted to talk to Joe Lombardi about that. My understanding based upon the reading of the town code is that it wouldn't be. But, since you're giving the extension anyway, I think that could be discussed at a later date.
Maybe Reed can chime in, but you can't, if there's a bigger project in line, it's more than 1 acre, because clearly when you do the small extension, then the future project, it's bigger than 1 acre. You can't parcel out and say, oh, well, I'm only going to build a little bit on this piece of property, so I don't need a SWIP. And then I'll come back and build a little bit on that property. No, the DEC wants to look at the entire project holistically.
My understanding is that if on a given property you clear more than an acre, I believe it's a Suffolk County law that if you clear more than an acre, you need a SWIP. And it's the amount that's being cleared. It's not, the particular size of the property, if that makes sense.
It's based on the actual land disturbance that's cleared.
Yes, it's based on land disturbance, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
And they do want to look at the entire project, current and future, that are all part of the same package. And that's how I understand how the DEC requires it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it. I'd have to verify. I've never dealt with a situation where it was sort of multiple properties. I mean, I guess as before they're subdivided, then they count as one property. I'm not exactly clearly at what point they're kind of freed and become their own entities as far as the SWIP is concerned.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Mhm. Okay, can we move on?
May I just ask one quick question? I'm sorry, and I appreciate all the work you've done on this. One thing that the planning board covenants do require in your resolution is approval of the parking easement. Will that be able to be circulated absent another formal meeting of the planning board? Because I think we're trying to wrap that up and all the other documents as quickly as possible. So could you just review the timing on that, please?
Beth,
Once
can
we
you-
get it, once we get
I
it
already looked
finalized.
at the parking easement, which I think was fine. I had a couple, one or two little changes, I think, but that was more,
Okay,
there was mention of landscaping that concerned me.
yes,
You
that
know,
we
I wanted to
changed.
see native species versus,
Yes,
but I think that to me seems more between the town, county, and the homeowners association. So,
so you wouldn't need a formal meeting for that if we have further
No.
language changes. Okay, we'll
Yeah,
send it
I
to
mean,
you and, yeah,
provided there's nothing that goes against what the covenants say in and of
Right.
itself, then,
right. Okay,
you know,
thank you.
or the older covenant, you know, I mean, as long as it's not doesn't contradict the original CNRs,
Yes,
then I don't think so. So I mean, I already looked through it. I know you had a question about the access too. I think that still is provided for within the original CNRs. We can talk about that also afterwards if you'd like tomorrow or something. But yeah, so I don't think we'll have to come back to the board for those. I think they're pretty much, they seemed okay for me.
and I'll follow, Beth, I'll follow your lead on that.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you all. The next thing we have on the agenda is, and this is short, we just need to assign wetland permit application reviews. Meg, now transitioning to the town board, can't really be doing these because she would have to recuse herself. And Beth, if you want to bump and help your husband and kids out, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay, but if you'd rather.
No, I think it's the broken foot situation there.
Thank you again
The
for all your help.
2-year-old is pretty fast, so. Thank you.
Thank you for all your help this week. I know.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. Of
Thank
course.
you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
too.
So Meg, if she wrote a decision for the planning board, then she'd have to recuse herself from this way I understand the discussion at the town board. So it's maybe better for us four to take on the three current application.
The McCarthy, right?
McCarthy is still now that's been reviewed by Reed and Meg. So
Yeah, and I've got to finish writing it up.
So
which
I don't
I'll
know,
do.
Meg would be recusing herself in January from that. That's
Yeah.
up to you
But
guys.
I've already done it with Reed, so it
Yeah.
would be silly to make someone else go back and.
So then we have Goodson, Sapin, and Kushner. Marcus would like to do Sapin. I would like to do it, as I mentioned before this meeting started, because I'm familiar with the house and want to see what the previous owners did to it. But if someone feels strongly about doing Sapin, I have no problem helping with doing another one. So
I'm easy.
So there's Goodson and Kushner.
I can certainly pick up one or both of those with someone.
Yeah.
Michael's on there, right?
Yes, Michael, do you want to?
I would like to do Goodson, and I can do one other. That's whatever needs to be done.
Kushner?
Yeah, I mean, I can either work, whatever you think. I can either work on, I'm not particularly familiar with those two. If I'll do whichever, I'll do one with Michael or.
You want to do one, you want to do the Kushner one with me?
Sure.
But you
So let's-
still have to finish this one report, Reed, and I know your activities at the. at
My
your
dance
other-
card, My
Yeah.
dance
Car's
card
rather
filled up pretty good last
Yeah,
week.
so,
So
why don't you just finish the McCarthy and then take one? So you want a good, Kushner?
whichever, I don't care. You tell me whatever's easiest.
Or what, you want to do Goodson with, Michael? Once
He's
you-
already holding Kushner.
I'm already holding Kushner.
All right. Michael, you want to do, Kushner with Reed?
Sure.
Great. And then, Marcus or I will do Goodson. Marcus, do you want to do? Good.
Sure.
Okay, great.
You've got.
No, I think, so I will need Kushner back.
Okay.
So it's Michael and Reed on Kushner, it's Marcus and me on Sapin, and Michael and Marcus on Goodson.
All right. Marcus and Michael on Goodson. Sapin is Marcus
Oh, okay.
Ian,
and Ian.
Me and Michael.
Kushner is-
On Goodson?
Yes.
Okay.
so none of these public hearings have been set yet because the town board until today didn't know what their 2022 schedule was. So I presume, I don't know if they're going to be set on the 28th or set on the 4th. McCarthy.
Ian, I'm sorry to interrupt. The Kushner is Reed and Michael.
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
that's correct.
With regard to Goodson, does anybody know the situation with the pool? Is that part of this application, or is that something that was previously permitted?
This is Goodson.
Is that Margaret's Drive?
This is Margaret's Drive.
So that's all pre-existing non-conforming is the issue here, and they're trying to clean up things that previous homeowners had done before they purchased the property. So that's
Inclusive of the
all,
pool.
the pool is pre-existing. So the new owners
Pre-existing
are,
approved or pre-existing unpermitted? Because it
pre-existing,
does not read that way, and I was wondering, given the position of the pool, it seems like it is well within the buffer and the regulated area, as I remember it.
I don't know with that one.
Which the
I mean, it could be
application was-
one that. I don't know,
Well, I
we'd
mean,
have to-
that's something to be reviewed by you two when you put the report together, and then we'll all take it up at another date. I'm more concerned about understanding when these are, the public hearings are scheduled so that we have a deadline to submit, and that's where I'm going those.
January 28th.
So they'll all be on January 28th. Okay.
And then Ian and Michael, you can pick up your hard copies anytime.
I will
And
do
your
so. Thank you. All right, that's all I had for this evening. I'm gonna give my voice a rest. Thank you all, unless someone has something else for us, but otherwise I'm gonna skedaddle.
Sure.
Thank you all for coming in too.
Take care, feel better.
feel better.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.